right, so we are just at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you guys for being here. Welcome to our first Core KPI webinar. We will be doing one of these a month for the year of 2024, focusing on a core KPI each month and kind of doing a deep dive into that particular KPI and why it's important and what things you can do to kind of improve it if it's something that you need to be working on. Super funny. The testing for the tornado sirens just started happening. That was a very interesting moment in my head. Um, yeah, thank you for coming, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and introduce myself to get started. My name is Aja Holiday. I am the Partner Success and Training Manager at Made Central. I've been with Made Central for almost 2 years now. I'll be at my 2-year anniversary at the end of this month. A little bit of my experience is I have about 9 years in the industry, starting as a cleaning technician actually in 2015 and working my way into management pretty quickly, and then was a general manager of a large cleaning service with an absentee owner for a multitude of years before moving to Made Central. My passion is really just numbers and managing by the numbers, really getting some getting actionable items from the numbers that you're seeing and how to meet goals and kind of really doing some strategic planning for your businesses based on the numbers that you're able to get. A tool that we have for this is actually our live events, which we are having one next week. So I did want to put this in here since today is the final day for signups. So we are closing signups today. If you are interested, this is our second on the road show, and we are going to be in Phoenix next week from Tuesday to Thursday. We have extended this event. It used to be just a 2-day educational event, and now it is 3 full days. So our space is limited, but we do have a couple of extra spots. I think we have like 3 or 4 extra spots right now, still open. So if you are interested, this is our only planned one in the sort of Western states area of the United States currently for this year. So if you are in that area, this would be a good place to join us if you are interested. This is not limited to just our Made Central partners. It is good for people who are not part of the Made Central community yet, but we do have a couple of extra things that our community members do get since we are able to get their data for them, but it is definitely valuable for anybody to come to, especially if you're interested in learning more about Made Central. So on our agenda today is we will be going over what are our core KPIs, what's our bill rate per clean, why it's important, really how profit comes into play here, and how to come up with good pricing for your services and what to take into consideration when you're doing that. And then some additional tools and resources that we have available for you guys, and we'll end with a Q&A. My goal is to have between about 30 to 45 minutes of presentation, and then kind of opening for that Q&A at the end. You'll notice in your Zoom control bar, which I've never called it that before, but I think that's officially what I'll be referring to that as, the Zoom control bar. We've got a couple of new different options on a webinar that you might see in a typical Zoom meeting. We do have our webinar chat, so feel free to use that, but we do have the Q&A, and that is a great place to throw some questions as they come up, and then we'll address all of those questions. I might be able to address them in that moment, or we'll address them at the end during that Q&A section. All right, so what are our core KPIs? Made Central has our key performance indicators. We chose 12 of them that really make up the, how your business is doing. It measures how you're doing. It lets you drive your business in the direction that you want to go, which is typically in growth. So these are the core KPIs for business growth in the residential cleaning industry. It also gives us an idea of where we can improve the most, especially if we have an understanding of industry benchmarks, which will give you some of these during these core KPI webinars, where we will be adding these benchmarks to the presentation, so you guys know kind of what your goals could be, where you might be aiming for, and if you're really far from that area, or from that number, that might be the area that you can have the most room for improvement. And that is literally priceless. You can't put a price on the amount of improvement you can get from knowing where you can get the most improvement. So here are our core KPIs, all 12 of them, and the dates for our upcoming webinars. I do have the link for these at the end of the presentation as well, so feel free to jot some down if you'd like to, but we're going to start with the numbers that we're kind of driving up at the beginning half of the year, and then the second half of the year, we'll be focusing on the numbers that we're driving down. We call these the red numbers and green numbers. A lot of people consider, green numbers are good and red numbers are bad, and that's not entirely wrong. You want more of the green things and you want less of the red things, but they're not, the representation of the actual numbers being green or good is not a good or a bad number. That's where our benchmarking comes into play. Some of the tools that we have available for these are actually online if you want to play with some of these during the presentation, or at least bookmark this. Again, I'll go over this at the end as well, but we've got our core KPI.madecentral.com. You can just create an account on there, and we have our profit planning tool, which is a place where you can see where your current bill rates are and bill rate per hour is, and what your business could look like if you raised everybody a certain percentage and how that would change your profit margins. Our growth forecaster is a tool where you can plug in our core KPIs and see if you didn't change anything and you kept doing everything the same way that you have been in the last 6 months or so, where your company would end up in a year and in 10 years, to kind of forecast out how your actions are benefiting your business. And then the final one on there is our growth comparison, which is the growth forecaster, but more of like a what if. So what if we improved our bill rate per cleaning by 15%? What would that change our end of the year numbers to? So you're able to kind of get an idea of where to focus your attention and what will have the biggest impact for your business. And again, this is just at corekpi.madecentral.com. You can create an account on there if you already have one, log on in, and you can save your forecasts and comparisons. You can go back and look at them again, and kind of use this as a strategic planning tool on a regular cadence in your business. So a little bit on our bill rate here. By bill rate, we're talking about, the average bill per clean. So some of our cleans could be one-time cleans with a really, really high, bill rate, and we might have small commercial jobs or, priority clean jobs that are only an hour or, a half an hour or something like that. So we're taking the average of that across all the cleans that we do to get a good representation of your overall revenue. You can use this in conjunction with your close rate or your cleans per day, to kind of get an idea of what your regular revenue is, all things equal. What things do you have on your schedule all the time? What are you living off of? It also has a really big impact on your payroll percent to revenue, which is a big part of our margins, right? Our highest cost in this industry is labor cost. So making sure that your bill rate is appropriate for your labor costs is incredibly important. And when we talk about payroll percent to revenue, we are 99% of the time not talking about reducing payroll, but increasing revenue or reducing the effect of payroll on that revenue. We'll talk about more of those on the payroll percent to revenue month, but just throwing that out there before anybody comes to that conclusion, because that's not where we want to go. We want to reduce the effect on that percentage, not reduce payroll. And then we'll do some illustrations, but really you'll get an idea of how important your bill rate is, because tiny increases, really small increases, can have a massive effect on your overall profit and how much you're able to put back into your business. So we'll do some examples of what that looks like. For reference, here is our some data from our MadeCentral users of our average bill rate per cleaning going back to the beginning of 2020 through the end of last year. And it is very interesting. We've got our lovely COVID dip here, when people are shut down, and then we just see this steady rise, and then it's kind of leveled out here around this 192 sort of range. That's the average. And it's holding true. I think we've seen a couple of little dips here, with some of the economic impact that we're seeing, where people are trying to have cheaper cleans. And so the bill rates might be going down, but the overall services might be going up. So again, none of our KPIs are the full picture. These are one piece of the entire project of your business, and lots of things interact with each other. So we are focusing on bill rate per cleaning right now, but understand that this goes together with a lot of other KPIs to get the full impact on your business. So what is your bill per cleaning? If you are not calculating this out, or you don't have an idea of what this is yet, your bill per cleaning is your average bill rate for each individual job. So you're going to take your revenue, divide that by your job count, and there's your average bill per cleaning. If you are a Made Central user, you can do this quickly and easily on your stats by week. We have your revenue and total job count on there, so you can just pull that out. We also have, if you're trying to calculate it yourself, we also have the Core KPI dashboard, which does all of those calculations for you. But if you're a math mind like me, and sometimes you just love the idea of pulling out a calculator sometimes and doing some quick little maths off the cuff, that is how that would work. We were showing on that graph that the average was around that 190, 192 range. We do quartile these out, and that's what we call our benchmarking with Made Central. And by quartile, we mean we break it up into 25% increments. So our first quartile is the top 25% of Made Central users. Second quartile is that 25 to 50%. Third quartile is 50 to 75%, and fourth quartile is that bottom 25%. So we'll be giving you kind of that first quartile number each month for each KPI as kind of a goal, right? That's where the top of that section is kind of at right now. So it kind of gives you an idea of what to aim for. So we're at $207.24 per job and higher on that first quartile. Again, this is not all just recurring jobs. Higher price jobs increase that bill rate. So if you have a lot of one-time jobs or all day deep clean type work, you're going to see that per job amount going up significantly higher, even if your recurring services are typically in the 170 or 180 range. So keep that in mind. You know your business is better than I do. So you know what impacts that number better than I can, unless I'm there helping you out with it. So all right, we have three major things that impact profit. And with our bill rate per cleaning, it's really important to know how much of that bill is being passed into profit and therefore back into the business, or what is going to the other costs. So we've got our general costs, right? Labor, overhead, taking care of our buildings, things like that. We've got just the general price. What are we charging, and are they paying it? And how many of those jobs do we have? So a lot of people focus on that volume number. We don't talk enough about the price number. So we get a lot of the costs and volume happening, but just not very much of the price communication. At Made Central, we really talk often about a sales-driven business model versus a profit-driven business model. We're used to talking to each other about, well, how many homes do you clean? How many customers do you have? And that's that sort of sales-driven mindset that we fall into very quickly and easily. And when you want to take a step back and think about what's our profit, you get a bigger picture. You're taking into all of these drivers into account before deciding if you're being successful or not. So bill rate for cleaning is really focused on that price section of it. And this is where you can kind of see, we're going to go into why those little changes have really big impacts. So the first thing is, let's talk about if you had a very simple company where you are earning $1 that day and your costs of everything that you need to do to run that business or get that job was about 90 cents, that gives you a 10-cent profit. That is a 10% net profit. Very simple, lovely little, oh, chat says it's disabled. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know. Just kidding. Just type all of your stuff in the questions in the Q&A. No chat. But hello. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. So this is a really simple equation here. We're just doing a quick subtraction, getting our net profit here. But what happens if we do a price increase? Let's do just a 1% price increase, right? So our bill being $1 is now $1.01. And the expenses have stayed the same, right? We're still at that 90 cents expenses. We haven't changed that. We've just increased the price. So our profit is a 10% improvement overall, right? 1 penny on 10 cents is a whole 10% bigger, even though we only increase the actual price by 1%. So what happens if we do a 10% increase? That ends up being a much bigger deal than, a 1% turning into a 10% improvement on your profit line, or a 10% increase. We go from $1.10 on the revenue side. Our expenses, again, staying the same, 90 cents, not a whole lot changing here, but the profit off of that is now 20 cents, which, remember, the first one at the beginning was just 10 cents. So we've doubled that. That means that we've done a 100% improvement by doing a 10% increase. So we talk about doing like a 5% annual increase. That would be like a 75%. 50%, just kidding, it's a 50%. That would be a 50%. I can do math, I promise, guys. But that would be a 50% improvement on your net profit doing a 5% increase. So when I'm talking about those little changes have really big impacts, that's what we're talking about. Sure, to your customer, that 10 cents is nothing, or that $10 or that $25 on a $250 bill, they don't love it, but it's not really that much to them in comparison on the total bill. But on your bottom line, it's a massive impact. It has a huge impact on what your bottom line net profit is by doing those increases. So don't talk yourselves out of making small price increases because you don't see the value of it, or it doesn't feel like it's going to be enough, because just a little bit here and there really does add up on the net profit line. A little bit of help on this. I talked about that core KPI.madecentral.com. So you can kind of get an idea of what this looks like for your own prices on the rate increases calculator here. So if you did a % increase on each customer's rate on the tool that we have, you can get a breakdown of what your net profit increase would be. So you can kind of play around with that same little exercise that we did with the really simple $1.90 expenses. You can do that on a much larger scale with your own business numbers. Fill in some of the KPIs here and play with the sliders, see what those changes would be, how those changes would impact your business. And that can help you create some goals for your strategy planning. I've got a question here from Linda. When you go to the core KPI.madecentral.com, should it automatically fill in my core KPI numbers from Made Central? No, it will not automatically fill it in from Made Central. It is not connected to Made Central. It is, at least not to your instance, at least. And it is a tool that can be used for anybody, whether they're a Made Central partner or not. So it will not fill that in automatically for you, but the new KPI dashboard is available in Made Central, and you can just do a quick copy and paste over from the core KPI dashboard over to the tools here at corekpi.madecentral.com. Rhonda, did you get this website here? You asked, what is the website for this? So it's corekpi.madecentral.com. And this will come up. I think I have it on like 6 more slides. So if you don't write it down now, I promise we'll have a chance to write it down later, but don't forget it because it's a really good tool. It will save you can save. So here you can see the save button. So you can save it as a new rate and kind of save some of these what if options for yourselves. Heather Andrew asked, what would you say is the highest percent you would recommend for a rate increase? I would, for this one, I don't know. I might leave that to the end, actually. I am going to leave that one to the end. So I will answer that one at the end, but if anybody has some input on that, be thinking on that one as well. So good tool here. Great to get some what if numbers, get an idea of if we really hit this hard, raise the increases, lowered our payroll to revenue, lowered our turnover, what would this look like? And now we've learned some great lessons on what our profit and loss can look like. Pricing has a huge impact on your profit. That 10% increase is 100% improvement on your net profit. So don't discount the fact that your small amounts to your customers are large amounts for you. And that kind of goes to this last one. Don't tell yourself it's only $25 on a $250 job. That's not really going to make a big difference for me. Bottom line wise, percentage wise on your profit margins and your net profit and what you're able to put back into your business, it's a really big deal. So don't discount yourself. Love this little saying here, revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity. So that idea of how many houses do you clean, what's your annual revenue, that's the vanity side of sharing where your business is at and how you're doing, but you could still be drowning and have the highest revenue number, or the highest customer count in the room if your profit isn't in line. And that's where you keep that sanity, where you keep your business going strong, growing, and not staying stagnant or getting into the decline of a growth curve. And yeah, the more profit that you have, the more that you're able to put that back into your business and, outspend competition on marketing or on, giving benefits to your employees. That helps that growth and really building your brand as well. So don't forget how important just those little increases can have. We know that price increases are not our favorite things to do. That's not something that we love doing, but it is something that absolutely needs to be done. And hopefully this illustrates a little bit more on why that's so important. For our Made Central partners, I did want to throw this in here in particular. These are some activities that you can do to drive your bill rate per clean in Made Central. We've got some really cool tools around price increases and adjustments. Rate increases and adjustments are a very simple process with Made Central. Well, simpler than doing it on your own. I would still say it's very simple once you really get your parameters in line of how often you want to do that. We really recommend doing kind of a monthly increase on everybody who has not been increased in X amount of time. Anywhere from 9 to 14 months is what I'll see. Some people like to do it directly on their anniversary. It's here's an anniversary gift for you. And by the way, here's your price increase as well. So you could do it that way. You could also try and get it off of a yearly cadence, but doing those rate increases in Made Central are really awesome. And you can do it with pretty much a single click once you kind of get that data pulled. Increase your quoting hourly rate. So start increasing new customers coming in on their hourly rate. We see a lot of those adjustments right now just for the inflation, but adjusting $2.50 up every certain number of months can really keep that pricing in line. Some other things that can help boost your revenue, adding skip and lockout fees, having add-ons available in the customer portal, excuse me, things like fridge cleans and deep cleaning blinds, oven cleans, things like that. You can add those so that customers can add them for themselves. And then a couple of ongoing things that you can do is using the dispatch board in Made Central for daily tracking of how houses are going over or under in time so that you're quickly adjusting prices if the time is not correct. And that's really good in keeping that payroll percent to revenue margin in line. And then the last one is doing some bulk rate modifications to help cover additional fees or costs. A lot of people are doing like a credit card fee or an admin fee where they're doing like a 3 to 5% just extra line item that goes directly into the into overhead costs essentially. Or I've actually seen some people do it as like a health and safety fee, and that directly pays for their health insurance for their company. So there's some really cool things that you can do within that bill rate that isn't directly going to profit, but allowing those funds to still be achieved and allowing that profit to not be impacted. So remembering all the different levels of what goes into that bill is really important. A cool little exercise around that rate increases and adjustments here is we've got this wonderful little graph. So our blue line here is all of our homes and the average revenue per hour that is being paid by those homes based on the time that we're spending there. So we've got some way low on that left-hand side at like $28 an hour or something. And then we've got some way high on the right-hand side, close to the 120 mark. And then our orange line here is our average. So our average hourly rate of all of these homes sorted from low revenue per hour to high revenue per hour is $65.57. Now, what if we did a rate adjustment? If we increase that, I'm guessing this was a percentage amount. Yes, I'm going to say this was a 10% increase. We're gonna maybe something around there. So we've got our rate adjustment. If we do a rate adjustment up, our average increases a little bit to that 72.98. So what we're trying to do is we want to bring everybody below the line up to the line. So this $28 per hour job gets brought up to that 65 per hour average. So everything would be straight across here, and then it would start to go up from there. That would bring our new average up to 72.49. Oh, yeah, I can go back to the last screen. I'll go back to that, but it is being recorded. Sorry, I keep looking at the chat. So where was I? Yes, so we've adjusted all of the prices below that line, brought them up so that they are at the average of everybody else. That brings our total average up to 72.49. Assuming that we have a 10% profit margin from the old bill rate, that means that we've added $6.92 per hour, which gives us 105% increase on profit. So, oops, let me go back. We've got our math over here on the right-hand side. Do I have a laser pointer? Nice. Oh, I don't know. Is that moving smoothly for you guys, or is it jumping around? Raise your hand if it's jumping around. Any hand raises? Okay, cool. I'm calling it. Oh, Heather. All right. Thank you. It seemed like it was going really rough. How do I just turn it off? Can you guys see my mouse if I do this? Raising hand, I'm guessing that's an affirmative. All right, cool. I'm just going to use my mouse then. So let me go back just a little bit in this math here. Our average rate increase is the $6.92 per hour. We went from 72.49 or 65.57 to 72.49, which gives us an additional $6.92 per hour for all jobs being cleaned here. If we have a 10% profit margin, that's going to be 10% off of this. So that would be $6.56. That's this one here, plus our new additional amount, which is actually more than the old profit was. So we get a doubling plus some by bringing everybody below the average up to the average. So we get 105% increase in profit. This is a really, really cool exercise to do with your own business because it really lets you know how expensive those underpriced jobs are, because they're incredibly expensive. And it really illustrates that if those just didn't exist, where profit would be, which would mean that you could be making more money with fewer homes than you are cleaning lots of homes. And this is where that profit versus sales differs. A sales business model would never want to lose homes for cost. A profit business model would be okay losing homes for additional profit, for properly priced homes. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I really wish I could see faces. So I'm just assuming everybody's nodding along with me and sounds good. I hope I didn't lose anybody too much on math. So we'll This is the last of the math, by the way. We can forget about that, and I'll keep going. Still important though, really good exercise to do with your business. I do actually have some tools for this, and we do go through this exercise at our Made Central Live events. So if you are interested in doing that exercise, I mean, don't come to an event just for this exercise, but to give you an idea of what some exercises that we do at our live events, this is one of them. To give you a really good indication of if you even lost 30% of these people at the bottom, which sounds absolutely insane and that would probably never happen, but if you lost 30% of the people down here, we would still have an additional 75% profit margin there. All right, so how do we determine our pricing? There's a couple of things we really want to take into account. We've got some, just considerations to have. What discounts do we want to do, if any? What upsells do we want to have? How do we think about price versus quality? And how do we really just take control of our pricing and not let our customers dictate our prices to us? On our price consideration set, we've got a nice little sliding scale here. From too low, where it is suspiciously cheap, we've all seen it, where something is online or even in a store and it's significantly less than we expect the price to be. It's usually going to take a lot of convincing and verifying before we trust it, or we're just not even going to risk it, right? If it's just on that way too low end, it's past the point of getting a good deal and to the point of, I don't know if I'm actually getting what I'm paying for, even on a good deal. In the other extreme, we've got just too high. It's too high. It's not even feasible. Customers are just walking away. And then we've got our nice little middle ground where we want to try and stay, where it's just right. It's not so low that people are concerned about, what they're actually paying for, and it's not too high that they're walking away. So we want to really get into that range right before that walk away point, right? Where it's enough for the value, enough for our costs and other considerations that we need to make, but not too much for our customers to palate and see the value in. Setting a competitive bill rate takes a couple of has a few, what's the word I'm looking for? Parameters to take into account. How do your customers buy? Are they, how are they talking to you? What are they buying it for? Are they buying online? Are they buying through your office? Are they doing it from referrals? That's going to have a really big impact on, not a big impact, but a decent impact on what they'll be willing to pay. Where that walk away point at the top end is kind of depends on how your customers buy sometimes. You never want to match an inferior service on price. That's not a deal that you ever want to make. You don't want to make deals on price and not value, because again, that's shortchanging yourself on, the value for the cost. Again, I'm going to say this, I think I have one more time that I'm going to say this, but small increases produce big results. You don't have to do a gigantic increase across the board every time. You can do smaller changes, or you can do a small increase across the board. There's lots of ways to do increases without having massive impacts on the culture of your business while still producing really big results financially for your business. And then the final thing here, big and bold in the middle, last, most important, be reassuringly expensive, not suspiciously cheap. It's that same thought process of, if it is so cheap that you don't want to buy it because you really don't know what you're getting and it just seems too good to be true, don't want to be in that realm with your prices for your services. You want to be reassuringly expensive. It's always really good to be on that upper middle end of things so that it feels like you're getting good quality. People associate value with the price. So you want to make sure that your price is translating the value to your customers even before they start receiving services. Once your bills are kind of set, we also want to take into account discounts, right? We do have lots of possible discounts that we can do. Some people do ongoing discounts. Those are kind of in a different realm of things. So what we're really talking about here is what to consider when you're discounting jobs. You want to only discount to get as close to that walk away price as possible, right? So what is the point that they are walking away? That's the furthest that you would want to discount to. But you also don't want to uh, shortchange yourself on the value again in price, right? Balancing here. Sometimes we've all had one of those customers that they just got to have a win. They've got to win something. They got to feel like they get that discount, and you can give a little bit on those ones. And those ones are you get to learn who those customers are and what is that amount that lets them feel like they got to win, but isn't necessarily an ongoing decrease of your overall revenue. This kind of goes into offering more value rather than lower price. So I jumped down over here really quick because I've already said this lots of times. So I'm going to say it one more time before I switch this slide. But in case you didn't know, that's one of the biggest points of this whole webinar, right? But on those like gotta have a win customers, sometimes it might be offering more value rather than lowering the price. So offering an upsell at a discount could still feel like they're winning. They're feeling like they're getting that deal, and that they've got that conversation on lock. And finally, usually with discounts, the best way to think about if somebody is arguing with you about price, or they need a lower price, instead of lowering your price for the work, lower the work before lowering the price. So you're offering a reduced scope of work to lower the price. Removing rooms, removing areas, setting up rotations. There's lots of ways to do that. And remember that your brain kind of thinks in chunks. So chunk things out. If you're trying to make a process around your discounts, or who you give discounts to, or how you're doing discounts, do that in little sections. You don't need to do it all at once. Awesome. So on the other side of this, on the other side of discounts, we've got upsells. Here's some examples of different upsells that we can do. We talked about the surcharges. So something about around admin fees or credit card fees, health and safety fees. You can charge more for preferred times. I need 8 a.m. every time that I get cleaned. Awesome. That sounds great. That's a $20 upcharge for a preferred time slot. That's an option. Preferred technicians as well, paying more for being less flexible. Surge pricing, so pricing higher during busier times or busier days. That's kind of going with the preferred times, but days of the week, times of the year, you can do. My biggest reference of surge pricing is actually like Uber and Lyft. But when things are really popular in Lyft as a driver, they get surge payments, which essentially just they bump up the charge because the demand has gone up. So don't forget that that's a possibility for our industry as well. And then we've got additional add-on services and add-on products, which is usually where people go to for upsells. So dishes, laundry, fridge cleanings, oven cleanings. Some people actually you make their own product or their own cleaning solutions that they sell as well. I don't think many of us love the idea of going into product production, but it's an option for those of you that may be considering something like that. It is a way to increase that bill rate on the cleaning service side as well. Within your upsells, discounts, general bill rate, and sales, all of this comes into communicating value to your customers. You really want to articulate the value of your services, have good scripts and spiels and ways that you communicate about why your service is worth the cost. Keep building that trust with your customers. Some of that is going to be based around communication. I've seen some companies doing like transparent pricing from the get-go where they just like lay it out for them from the beginning and they know exactly what their house is going to cost no matter what changes they make. This is probably this is just a really good piece of that end of the numbers. We're talking about all these numbers, why small changes have big impacts, we got some percentages going, but you still need to communicate that to your customers in a way that makes sense to them, reaching them on a level that they understand that the price that you're charging is worth the value to the customer. But on the other side, buyers are liars. So don't confuse what customers are willing to pay with, or what they want to pay with what they're willing to pay. Sometimes they just want to underpay you. So don't put too much. Oh, my picture has disappeared in the next slide. So sorry, you guys are going to have a really blank slide here coming up. But they will tell you what they want to pay, not necessarily what they're willing to pay. So know your value, know your worth, which sounds like I'm giving you like my pump up best friend, best girlfriend speech right now. But yes, know your value, know your worth, and don't compromise on those consistently. Sometimes a compromise needs to happen. You guys make those calls within your business, but overall, don't let your customers dictate your pricing. This slide used to have, oh, just kidding, they're coming up. I'm joking. I forgot that there was animations on this slide. So customers' goal, they want to have the best price, and they want to have the best quality. They think they want the best price, right? That's what they are going to talk about to you. That's going to be their initial decision whether they're going to move forward with services or not. And again, when you're doing price increases, it's not about the price typically that they have issues with. It's about the price matching the quality. So quality is always that kind of first priority in our services, and price can only go so far as our quality is able to achieve, so far as what our quality is able to achieve. And just really remember that customers will remember the quality long after they forget the price. They might not remember what they paid for their services 10 years ago, but they will remember the cleaning technician or the company that did an amazing job for them or made a good connection with them, cared about their home, cared about their family. That's going to be the part that makes the biggest impact. And the price is just long gone, long forgotten. So quality is always that first priority, and you can only get so much price out of poor quality. As far as taking control here, I want to kind of finish on this piece. These are some self-limiting beliefs that people will have. Don't let these take control of your thought process around your pricing or around your sales. Some of these thoughts being, my prospects are honest. They have all the power. You need to have the best price or the lowest price or the best deal in the area. You're understanding why prospects want a comparison shop. That's a phrase that's going to be, they're thinking only about price, right? And we don't want to compete on price. We want to compete on quality and on value. So if they want to shop around for price, awesome. You get what you pay for. I think we all have had an experience of getting what we pay for. So don't let them bully you into not getting paid for what you're worth. I understand when my prospects want to talk it over with their partner. I wish I had a good way of, Tom, are you on this call? Do you have any other insights on that one? That I understand when my prospects want to talk it over with their partner. I can't remember if he's on there, if that was somebody else. I don't think he is. Okay. So that's one of those lying things that customers will do just to get off the phone, and it sounds reasonable. I know Tom has told me a really good phrase once before, and I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was Liz. It would have been like,
Hey, Aja.
oh,
I'm here. I just had to
you're
figure out
here.
how to unmute myself.
No worries. I thought that was you. I just saw the logo and wasn't positive. Um, what are some thoughts to have? Oops. Or just a little bit more on this one, because I think this is one that I hear often when talking to our users, when they're doing price increases or trying to bring new customers in at a rate. This phrase comes up so much. What are some thoughts you have on how to get around that and not be so
Um,
self-limiting on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dodge. They don't want to say yes, they don't want to say no. Create some sense of urgency, some sense of, scarcity. We have opening next Tuesday, right in your neighborhood. Our schedule's kind of packed. If really think that you want this, should go ahead and make a commitment now. We'll take a 50% down payment just to hold your space. Kind of, it's just too easy to say, yeah, talk it over with your, partner and let us know. You don't want to let, don't want to make that easy.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said something once, and if I remember, I'll send it out to our people and something, but there was something about like, you know, they've already decided that they want to get a cleaning service if they're calling you or something. It was just along those lines. It was a very
Right.
interesting thought. I know I'm building this up a
Well,
lot with no
well,
resolution for you guys,
you
but
know,
it's a
but
cool
you
thing.
should. You could take them down that path if you want to. It's like, we've had a long discussion. I think that you're pretty sure that you're hiring a cleaning service. So is it really a matter of talking it over with your partner? Is it really making a decision, if we are the successful candidate, we're the company you want to use? And if, you have any questions as to, why we shouldn't be, let's have that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, that straightforwardness communication during the sales process can be huge. I think particularly when it just seems like they're hedging. So,
And hopefully, based on the discussion, you can tell by the questions they were asking what's important to them. And you can reiterate, why you're awesome in the areas in which they were inquiring.
awesome. Thank you. All right. So that is kind of a wrap on our considerations on bill rate per cleaning. Some of these tools and resources, again, we've got our core KPI.madecentral.com. I'm going to go to another tab or another page. I'm still going to have that link on here, but just give you some shots of what is on this, what tools are on this page. So this one is our growth comparison tool. So you've got our core KPIs, our green numbers, our red numbers, and we do have just some input general business information numbers. They're not necessarily KPIs. They're not going to have a major impact on things as far as like those aren't the numbers that you're going to be driving one direction or another. They are results of what you're driving on these other numbers. But you can plug in your KPIs and then you plug in some improvements. How much do you want to improve on each one? I've got a 15% improvement here and a 5% improvement here. And down at the bottom of year one, we can see that at the current, if we kept doing everything that we're doing the same way at the end of the year, we'd be at 1.58 million. And if we make this 15% improvement and a 5% improvement on just these two, right? Those are the only two KPIs I added any changes to. We go to 1.8, which is a $250,000 increase on revenue. And depending on your profit percentage, we're looking at a 3% additional profit there by just making small changes on these two particular top ones. I just did a big one on average bill rate, and then that kind of already will impact your payroll percent to revenue. So that will probably drop that a little bit to the 5%. That's why I added those two in there. It's because they have a really direct relationship with each other. And the other tool again was the price increase outcomes calculator. So giving you an idea of how much is that price increase really worth? And that makes it a lot easier to hit the send button on a really big price increase for everybody, or not even a big price increase, on a price increase that brings everybody below your line up to your line. It really gives you that what it's worth to you to do that. We also do have our Made Central core KPI calendars. So I see some names on here that I'm pretty sure are here from getting a calendar from us in convention. So welcome. Hi, hello. Wonderful to see you again. Um, but if you have not received a calendar and would like to receive a calendar, we have all of our core KPIs on there broken down by month, the same months that I showed at the beginning. So January is our bill per cleaning. I think next month is probably quotes per week or close rate. I can't remember which one. I think it's quotes per week. because close rate was March. And I remember that one because March is one of the best selling times. So that's a really good time for us to talk about that one. But if you would like a calendar, I've got an email that you can send it to, but we'll just need your name, address, and business name to send that. And I will show you the email at the end. It's mail@madecentral.com for anybody with your pen ready to go. But for anybody else looking for a pen, I'll talk about it again in a couple of slides. We talk about bill rate per cleaning and all of the other KPIs at our live events. So madecentral.com.academy for anybody interested in registering at our next one, which is next week, January 9th through 11th. As I mentioned, this is a slightly different format that we've done in the past. We have extended it to a third day to give us some more time for hands-on learning and workshops. So this is a really, really awesome event, and it's constantly evolving. We go over how to improve your business, how to really get into kind of that professional management mindset to improve your results, have predictable outcomes depending on what you're working on and how often you're doing it, really getting into a cyclical strategic planning life cycle within your business is a lot of what we talk about at these live events. So I see you unmuted, Tom. Did you have something to add here?
Yeah, in the spirit of creating some sense of urgency, we have
Oh
a
yeah,
go. Today's the last day to register.
I said that at the beginning. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, there's logistics, since it's, we start next Tuesday, there's logistics on that end with the catering and supplies and swag and all of that. So if you're interested, and it's an awesome event, I think pretty much without exception, everybody's attended this has had glowing feedback. Need to sign up in the next few hours because tomorrow morning we're going to have to take down registration and start taking care of the loose ends to get ready for next Tuesday.
Who knew it was so fast? All right. Thank you. Okay, so Q&A really quick. We've got a couple of questions in here, so I'm going to go down those really fast. Heather asked, what would you say is the highest percent you would recommend for a rate increase? This is a really hard one because it really depends on where your rates already are. Competition wise, you don't want to be outpricing yourself. You don't want to go past that walk away point. But if we're talking about adjustments, adjusting somebody whose price is underpriced because their house is taking longer than we budgeted for, there's no limit on that one. That needs to be as high as it needs to be to get to the correct bill rate for the time that you're spending. As far as a blanket sort of price increase across your whole service customer base, that's what I'm looking for. I don't know if there is a highest number. It really depends on what your goal is. Are you trying to achieve, a specific per hour rate? Or are you just making adjustments for cost of living or inflation stuff? I've seen as high as like 10 to 12% gone out before, but that was definitely for people who had a lot of catching up to do on their price increases. Average is usually about 5%. That they'll do a 5% sort of annual increase. That's more average.
Yeah, and another way to approach that is there's no rule saying that you have to do an annual increase. If you need to increase your rates across the board because of inflation or, change in your cost structure, minimum wage went up, you can do a rate increase today, and I've seen people do double digit, rate increases all at one pop, 10, 15, even 20% to large groups of people. I don't recommend that. I recommend doing something, 5% range, but make it very clear that, these are all the reasons why we're doing this rate increase. And depending upon the economy and inflation and other stuff, this might not be the last rate increase you're going to be seeing this year. So you can
Mhm.
come back and do another 5%, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, and still get your number, but it doesn't seem as bad. You're sneaking up on it, so to speak. You can do multiple rate increases in a year is the point.
Awesome. Heather also asked if I can explain add-ons available in customer portal. So this is one of our Made Central activities. Within your rate modifications in Made Central, you can show your rate modifications on the customer portal. If they're visible on the customer portal, customers have up to 24 hours before they're clean to add those to their next service. And it will add that rate modification, add the time to it, add the add-on into it for the technicians to see. It will create a ticket for you on your Made Central dashboard so that you know that that was added on, but that is a great way for your customers to kind of self-serve upsells for themselves. Dave asked, is there a way to visualize this in Made Central or just export data to Excel? I'm not sure exactly what that was about, but I think it might have been the rate modifications or the average rate curve thing. There isn't a current visualization in Made Central, but I do have a spreadsheet. Maybe we could get a resources on our Core KPI page at some point. If you want to email that mail at Made Central, I'd be happy to share that spreadsheet with anybody who wants to do that exercise themselves. But it is an export out of Made Central to do that little graph, find your average, what the new average would be, and how much that would increase your profit or overall revenue. Carmine asked, is there a way in Made Central to pull a customer report and sort customers by their bill rate or profitability to determine the lowest ones to raise rates on? Yes, and it's called the rate increases report. It's fantastic. So we've got two options on there, one called rate adjustments, one called rate increases. Again, adjustments are for jobs that are underpriced that need to be bumped up because they are taking more time than they were originally billed for. And increases are just a general increase of your rates or of your prices for, inflation, just general increases in costs. That report will give you average times, normalized average time, which is a term that we use at Made Central that I don't have time to go into right now, but it's a really good measurement of technician efficiency. And we'll also give you, I believe, their average bill rate and what the new average bill rate would be with that increase. Additionally, we also have the service set pricing report, which pulls all the jobs during a certain time frame that you set and averages all of that out and shows the bill rate or average rate per hour for all the jobs in that time, and you can sort that one by any of the columns. All right. So Tanisha asked how often we do these and when is the next Made Central Academy. So we answered the Made Central Academy. We've got one next week. We will have another one in a couple of months that we'll probably be announcing in a week or two. And we do these webinars monthly. So we'll be doing one the first Wednesday of every month this year on a different core KPI. Oh, that's awesome, Rhonda. Rhonda said that she did a 34% increase on some clients that were super underpriced and lost a ton of them, but her overall bottom line is much better. And I bet your sanity took a beating in the moment, but I bet your sanity is a much better place now than worrying about those underpriced jobs. So I have been there. I have sent out a very large increase and felt so much better just by knowing that they knew that they were underpriced. Jennifer Murphy asked, how much notice do you recommend for rate increases? I typically do next visit. So I will send it out for, all of I'll wait. Let's see here. So let's say it's like, I'll wait for those Monday clients to be done and I will have it go into effect that 2 Mondays from then. So everybody essentially, especially your biweekly clients, will still get one more clean at their regular rate, I guess. And then the visit after that will be the one that it takes into effect. So almost next clean. I do try to give a little bit of notice just in case they don't read it and we have time to kind of just double check on things and make sure that everybody has been aware of their price increase. But I don't have more than that on that one. What was the customer report name? That is service set pricing. It is the second report from the bottom of the list of all reports. So just scroll all the way down, second one up, service set pricing. It's a very big report. And then Chris, yes, this is being recorded. I believe anybody who is here will get that recording automatically, I think, or maybe we send it out. I'm not sure, but it is recorded and we will definitely make sure that it gets to you, whether it's through Zoom automations or through something that we do. Just some links here that I kind of left up on the screen for you guys to look out for the last 5 minutes or so. But upcoming events, we've got the www.madecentral.com/events. That's where you will find our webinars, where you will find any live events. We will keep that up to date with our webinar and live events. Calendars, if you would like a calendar mailed to you free of charge, just we send you a calendar for you guys to better yourselves and be able to see when our events are. Just send us an email at mail@madecentral.com and be sure to include your address and company name. And do not forget to utilize the crap out of corekpi.madecentral.com. Probably the coolest free tools I have ever seen for our industry before. These are some really, really amazing tools, and they are just available to anybody, whether they are a Made Central partner or not right now. So take advantage of that. Use it. It is planning season. Happy New Year. And thank you guys so much for coming to our first Core KPI webinar. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I will talk to you all later and have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.